My name is Ben Rodgers and I'm a Catchment Sensitive Farming Advisor within the Derbyshire White Peak. For the last 6 years we've been working with our local farmers, looking at ways of using herbal leys as a replacement for perennial ryegrass swards managed with nitrogen fertiliser. I'd like to share some of the things we've found out, and hopefully some of these findings you'll be able to apply to your own farm. What are your soil conditions like up here?
It's lovely soil to work with. It's like a bit of a silty loam.
Yeah.
And it's really friable. But with it being so free draining, you lose the moisture really quick.
Really quickly, yeah.
And you know, these hot dry summers do us no favours up on these tops. You know, grass will start struddling, and over severe spells you start burning up severely, especially on the dale sides or anywhere where we're close to rock, which even on these silage fields we literally mow over bedrock.
Yeah. So quite an incentive there then really for something that has deep roots and will access that moisture a bit longer. So in terms of the sorts of grasslands that we're dealing with here, as you can see, we're looking at perennial ryegrass dominated swards, regularly reseeded, anything between 100 and 250 kilograms of nitrogen to the hectare as fertiliser, plus slurry as well. Great potential benefits both for the environment and financial benefits to the farmer in replacing that nitrogen fertiliser with natural nitrogen fixed by the legumes in herbal leys. Hi Rusty.
Hello Ben.
Good to see you.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Let's go and have a look at some of these new herbal leys then. It was back in 2022 you put your first one in?
Yes, so I just wanted to dip my toe in the water, try and get a feel for it and see how it fitted in with what we were already doing. We did it with an experiment to use less nitrogen.
So we've got a good cover here, Rusty, of legumes and herbs, plenty of white clover, a red clover there. The chicory, the plantain, the white clover, they tend to be the more robust species that come stronger generally. Yeah, it's a really good sward. You've been introducing herbal leys over quite a long period of time, to the point now you're basically on a whole farm system, is that right?
Yeah, first year we put about 40 or 50 acre of oats in, because we levelled some ground up and we put this corn in. We thought we'd like to go down the route of a percentage of farm's corn and go round reseeding the whole farm.
Yeah.
We started that in 2011, percentage of farm into corn, and then went back to the ryegrass. And then we went on to the protein leys after that, and then on to herbal ley. Ideally, we'd like to be 2 years at corn, and then maybe 4 to 5 years at herbal ley. The idea of the corn is weed control, because when you go back into herbal ley, you can't spray it. So if you can't spray, you need to go into a clean seed bed.
And that's because you can't spray for broadleaves in a herbal ley.
Yeah. But if you're doing a reseed, we've always found the best way is min-till, plenty of soil there, and then you put your seed in. Ploughing's only if we have to. That's always the biggest trouble with the ploughing. If you just go that little bit too deep, you're bringing a bit of subsoil up and you're burying the good soil. It's one of your main assets on the farm is your topsoil.
My technique is to let the grass grow to a grazing cover of about 3,000 kilos of dry matter per hectare, which is about that much grass. We spray it with Roundup, about 5 litres a hectare. Leave it a week for the harvest interval, and then come in and graze it with the cows, as we normally would. And as soon as they've grazed it, then we'll come in and direct drill it. Might put, depending on the lime status, we might go on with a ton an acre of lime, just to help the old grass break down. One of the reasons we leave it to like a 3,000 cover is any weeds that are there, any docks or thistles and stuff, that the leaf's there and they get killed with the Roundup.
Yeah, and also with the direct drilling, I guess you're keeping any other weed seeds buried?
Yes, the main thing is we're not disturbing the soil, so we're not disturbing any weed seeds. And I think that's pretty important. More so with a herbal ley, because I don't think there's any herbicides you can put on a herbal ley.
No. It's your only chance.
Yes, you've only got one chance, so yeah.
Make the most of it.
We have tried overseeding, direct drilling into existing leys. I think you're far better off getting rid of the old ley.
The competition.
All the competition has gone. Yeah, get rid of all your competition and just have a clean, fresh bed.
We have tried direct drilling some, but the trouble is there's too much competition from the old grass.
Into existing grass.
Yeah, and because we haven't got the tools of glyphosate to take that competition of the grass out, we do struggle to overseed the herbs. Oversowing is variable, I'd say.
A proper reseed is what's needed.
Do it right, basically.
Yes. I think to get the full benefits out of it, we need a full reseed.
For our local conditions here in the White Peak, this is a good example of what you'd be aiming for in a sward cover. Your species composition is going to vary according to soil conditions and also how the mix has been put together, whether it's been tailored more for grazing or more for cutting. This field will be cut for silage a couple of times and it'll have a graze or two. We've got a good 50% cover of legumes. It should be fixing a good amount of nitrogen, upwards of 180 kilos to the hectare, and producing your protein. So we've got the white clover in the base there, a good amount of red clover in here, so just aiming for at least 10% red clover. Whether you're cutting or grazing is a good thing, particularly for the pollinators. And then other species, such as the bird's foot trefoil here with this nice yellow flower, and the sandfoin here as well. Very important you get good establishment, because that's the powerhouse, the engine of your productivity, and that's what's going to save you on the nitrogen fertiliser. We've then got a good cover of the herb species as well, and for me I tend to think if we're anywhere between 10 and 30% cover of herbs, then we've done quite well. Burnet with these jaggedy leaves. Yarrow down here, which pulls up minerals from lower down. Ribwort plantain. The rest is made of your grasses. So perennial ryegrass providing that ME to drive milk and meat production, and your sugars for silage fermentation. Then we've got various other more resilient grasses. Festulolium in here, some tall fescue, which is just providing some deep roots for drought resilience. And we have some timothy grass in there, which tends to like cooler, wetter conditions. So a good example, you've got resilience to whatever environmental conditions, cooler weather, warmer weather, shallow rooters, deeper rooters. There should always be something that likes the conditions and will be producing for you. You've done direct drilling for other people. They've burnt off the previous grass to get the competition out with the glyphosate, and then you've direct drilled in afterwards. Has that been successful?
Yeah, as long as you get your soil coverage on it. We usually go over with a combinator or a dyno drive, and just rough it up and then roll it, direct drill it and roll it again, and it's been really good.
We're an organic dairy farm, milking about 200 cows on average. The way we establish all our herbal leys, we plough for a spring sown cereal like spring barley or spring oats, drop the seed rate a bit on those, but then undersow it with a full seed rate, increase it by 20% for a herbal ley grass seed undersown. So we plough and combi drill the whole crop, the cereals, and then we broadcast the herbal ley, the grass mix on top, and then we roll everything before it comes up. If we do a spring reseed, you won't be seeing any grass till sort of the summer months, whereas we're getting a good amount of whole crop from the oats, and then we're getting the grass coming through in September time as well.
One or two places where there's bedrock showing, so it's difficult to cultivate it. So we wanted some form of actually getting in there, direct drilling it. Because we don't do any old crop wheat or old crop barley or anything like that, we wanted some way of breaking down this matty grass that we'd got here. We came up with the idea of the Westerwolds, and it allowed the matty grasses that were there to break down and leave more or less a stubble, so that we've got something to actually direct drill into. Because in the past we've tried direct drilling into these matty grasses, and sometimes it's successful, sometimes it isn't.
And you dare take more of a chance on that side with the Westerwolds because it's cheaper. If that had failed, it wouldn't have been the end of the world.
Well, we weren't losing a lot, and also up here, time, it isn't as though we can like leave it and let it fallow a bit. We are tight on grass. So it was literally a way of getting it in October when everything else has probably not been that productive. And we weren't losing any time. It was literally coming back in the spring. It was producing, and it gave us quite a lot of production that allowed us to move into this herbal ley. We managed to build up a few stocks for having the Westerwold in, so it allowed for this to get established without putting the pressure on it. There was quite a lot of weeds in here. There was docks, lilacs, we've got creeping buttercup, dandelions, there were a lot of it.
Yeah.
With the Westerwolds, we could use it as actually cleaning it up. It did give us a couple of chances to actually get in there and control the weeds, so that now there's hardly a dock here or dandelion, and we drilled this in August last year.
How you put this one in, obviously it was an improved grassland to start with, and ready for a reseed.
Ready for a reseed. So we took a cut of grass off it in June, first cut of silage off it in June, leave it to regrow, went in with glyphosate then to clean it off, direct drilled the kaolin rape into it, and that was left then till October time when the lambs were ready for it. So we then strip grazed it with the lambs over the winter. Then we went in then at the spring after the glyphosate, which it was 29th of April, drilled the barley, peas and oats, and then undersowed it with a herbal ley.
At the same time?
On the same day. And so once you take your corns comes off and your grass is there ready and growing,
hey presto.
And just leave it to it. Yeah, we don't not touch it since.
Rather than going straight from grass to the herbal ley and having that risk, direct drilling the herbal ley, of it failing.
By putting your turnips in or whatever in the back end and letting the sheep graze it, it gives you a clean start next year then to go in again.
So you've got quite a lot of advantages of that approach,
I think so, yeah.
You've got your weed control.
Yeah, weed control without ploughing.
2 hits on the weeds.
Yeah.
You've used direct drilling, so you haven't flushed any more weed seeds up.
No. And you've got a solid seed bed all the time, haven't you, without sort of making it too loose.
Yeah, because you direct drilled the brassica in, that could carry the lambs better.
Yeah, you've a bit more turf for them to walk on.
So less erosion risk and less mess.
Yeah, just quite a simple way to do it really. The other method is, do we go in at spring and spray off, put your turnips in then?
In the spring,
so we get an autumn reseed.
Yeah, it's a good one, particularly on a dairy platform.
Yeah.
This is a really good place to demonstrate the difference between a location that's suitable for a herbal ley, so the dark green field in the background, and somewhere that isn't suitable. So in the foreground we have this high quality semi-improved hay meadow heading towards species rich. You can see there's a very good diversity of grasses in there: sweet vernal grass, crested dog's tail, various fescues, some cocksfoot, good cover of your more common herbs, native ribwort plantain, red clover. Hay meadow indicators such as oxeye daisy are in here as well. There's a lot of existing value to this grassland, both botanically, also in terms of invertebrates, that we really wouldn't want to lose. The soil fertility in here, particularly the P&K, phosphate and potash indices are likely to be very low. So your herbal ley isn't going to thrive in this situation either. Contrast that to the dark green field over there. It's been reseeded in the past, not too long ago. Really good place to put your herbal ley, and this really is not a good place to put a herbal ley.
The seed mix is 14-15 kilos an acre as a bag, and we're sowing about 20 kilos an acre. And on the silage ground there'll be more red clover in it, and plantain and chicory, as well as all the other herbs that sit in the bottom. On the grazing leys we tend to be more a higher rate of plantain. I think this was about 1.4 kilos of plantain went into the mix.
Quite substantial, isn't it?
Yeah, but then the red clover was dropped down to probably 0.7 kilos, and the white clover was about 1 kilo, whereas on the silage ground the red clover was probably about 3 kilos, if not 4, and the white clover is probably about 0.5 kilo. More important to me is the actual rooting. In a year like this where we've got less moisture altogether, the roots are going further and finding something.
What sort of grazing round are you operating?
It varies. The lowest is probably about 30 days, I'd say, on our system, but then it does stretch out as the weather alters and the grass growth drops back.
You need to make sure you've got this good rest recovery period between grazes to allow all of the species to rebuild their reserves and recharge themselves before the next graze. If you go in too frequently, there is a risk that you can lose some of the more sensitive species rapidly. If you can allow these herbal leys to fully flower and complete their life cycle, maybe late summer, autumn time, they'll then put reserves back into the root system so they can get off to a quick start the following season. And also, if there's chance for things to set seed, that seed can drop back down again and help rejuvenate some of those species and help the herbal ley to last longer. It's really useful for lots of reasons, both environmental and agronomic, to allow that really good rest recovery period. The silage, it's pretty good quality. I know you've had it tested and it's good stuff.
It's always very good, always very high in sugar, always very good on protein. The cattle do well on it. They're the ones that show you what's happening like.
They're the judge, aren't they?
When we put the cows in the first time, I said to my lad, they'll never eat this, it looks rubbish.
The herbal ley?
The herbal ley, I said they'll never eat that, it looks like a field full of weeds. But yeah, after the second day they wanted to go back in there and they just absolutely love it. So there's something in there that they must like it to eat better than just straight grass. There must be more flavour to it or what.
The taste panel knows.
Taste panel, they know, they know. Well, the problem we're going to have is overgrazing with sheep in winter.
Yeah.
With running sheep over them, they won't stand that.
Yeah.
I think they want a bit of a rest in winter.
They just eat the crowns out.
Yeah, they just
shred
love
them
it.
in. And
I think same again with the cows. There must be something in there that they like to eat.
So they home in on it.
Homing in on it. That's right. Yeah.
I think we do get slightly better intakes and probably slightly better milk yields. Some of that is probably because of the clover there.
Yeah.
I think that's possibly underestimated how palatable feed clover is.
It's really high protein, which is only a benefit.
Yeah.
You know, we need protein to feed our cows and to keep them healthy. And if we don't produce it on farm, then we have to buy it. And we don't want to be buying soy or high protein feeds from abroad when we can grow it in a field.
Keeping your feed costs down and reducing carbon footprint as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're an Isle farmer. We have to record everything that we do. How much bought in protein all gets counted. So if we can reduce that as much as possible, it's a benefit on our milk price.
Yeah. Do you have a feeling for how much it's potentially saving your nitrogen fertiliser?
Well, I think going forward we're probably looking at putting maybe 2 doses on. We tend to go with about 30 kilos of nitrogen per hectare. So my feeling is we'll probably do the first 2, maybe 3 passes with nitrogen, and then once it warms up this time of year, let the clover do it. We think that's probably feasible.
Yeah.
I don't think we're taking much of a knock, if any, in production.
Yeah.
So we're just still early days, but the initial work is suggesting that that'll work.
That'll work, and so that could be, if it was 2 doses.
Yeah, that's that's less than half of what we'd normally be using. We're probably, on average, we'd be using about 150 kilos of N per hectare now. In the past, would have been nearer 200.
Got you.
But I think on the herbal leys, or even just a good grass clover ley, if we get it established right and the clover performing, I think we could be down at 60, 70 kilos of N per hectare.
So potentially saving towards 100
kilos? Yes.
And so if that was, depending on where fertiliser prices are, about £1 a kilo, it could be £100 a hectare-ish?
Yes, yeah.
So that's quite considerable, isn't it?
Us here, it's almost like a natural thing governed by the potatoes that need to rotate. The fields become available and we just now automatically put everything down to herbal. Most farmers will be in the same position as they can't really afford to reseed a lot of land at once because you can't afford it out of production. Yes. So it's a natural thing that you will start with one field, and if you like it, you'll probably continue. It takes 5-10 years to get it established.
It really is full of bees.
Full of bees?
Yeah, absolutely full of them.
Feeding your cows and feeding your bees?
Yeah, and making me some honey.
We've seen a dramatic increase in brown hares on the farm, and there's lots of spiders in the morning when you come across in the mist. It definitely does provide for the environment as well as the farmer.